Solana has been the darling of this current bull run, doing an almost 20x from its low around $10 in 2022 to a high of over $200 in the last couple months. But how did a relatively new blockchain named after a sleepy California beach town become the center for meme mania and millions of dollars in development? That's what we're going to uncover today in our new series, Foundations. And today we're talking Solana. It's time to discover crypto. It seems like everyone is transacting on Solana due to the low fees and typically fast transactions, when the transactions don't get stuck or fail anyways. Solana even momentarily flipped BNB, becoming the third largest cryptocurrency by market cap, excluding stablecoins. Solana is the brainchild of CEO and innovative founder Anatoly Yakovenko. Before Yakovenko transformed himself into a blockchain innovator, this Ukrainian immigrant spent 13 years at global wireless tech company Qualcomm. His days were filled writing code that was probably running in your phones in the early 2000s without you even knowing. Even early on, he had dreams of changing the world. He told Fortune, "There was this magical possibility of writing a piece of code that just solved some incredible problem for the world." And while he was learning the ins and outs of crafting hyper-efficient software, Yakovenko was gaining an interest in emerging blockchain technology. After Yakovenko left Qualcomm in 2016, he did quick stints at Mesosphere and Dropbox while he explored mining crypto as a method of offsetting the cost of various software development projects. Then one night in 2017, high on coffee and a beer, a groundbreaking idea popped into his head. The idea was proof of history. It's a method of using time to order transactions and events on the blockchain. This is different than Bitcoin's proof of work and Ethereum's proof of stake models. We'll go more into it later. Yakovenko knew he had something special with proof of history, so he brought on more co-founders, including some Qualcomm alums and Raj Gokal, who would go on to serve as Solana's COO. After many Slack arguments, the co-founders decided to name the project after a beach in California where they loved surfing, Solana. And surfing wasn't the only athletic pursuit the team had in common. Yakovenko and Gokal met during a camping trip with a fellow co-founder. In fact, many of Solana founders have done Ironmans and other athletic pursuits. Yakovenko is also an underwater hockey player, I didn't even know they existed, and credits surfing and multi-hour bike rides for clearing his mind and leading to technological breakthroughs. With an experienced team behind him, Yakovenko went on to raise almost $360 million to fund this crypto-changing venture. Solana's investors included the biggest players, including A16Z, Polychain Capital, and the now notorious Sam Bankman-Fried and his venture capital firm, Alameda Research, amongst others. Sol ended up being Alameda's second largest holding. Bankman-Fried believed Solana was the blockchain he had been looking for.
He is the one.
He was so psyched about Yakovenko and Solana that he used the blockchain to start building a decentralized exchange called Serum. The pair frequently appeared together at cryptocurrency events, and Bankman-Fried was constantly singing Solana's praises. SBF told Fortune, "Solana has a shot at becoming one of the core layers on which most financial and informational transfers happen between applications in a natively Web3 world." Then in 2020, the Solana mainnet launched, starting out with proof of stake until the team could get proof of history into a usable enough state for a subsequent launch in 2021. I'll give you a rundown on proof of history and the other technology that makes Solana unique. Proof of history is a consensus innovation that uses verifiable delay function to generate timestamps for each block. This unique consensus mechanism gives Solana a really high transaction throughput of over 65,000 transactions per second, which is on par with Visa's processing speeds. It also reduces the storage and bandwidth needed for the blockchain to function. This system makes Solana less vulnerable to attack, specifically replay attacks, where bad actors attempt to replay transactions from one blockchain to another. The other innovation Solana introduced was called horizontal scaling. This allows more computers to join the processing network, and tasks can go through the network in parallel. And then Solana's Turbine protocol allows lightning-fast validation of transactions by transmitting information to node clusters that Solana calls neighborhoods. These neighborhoods are ran by leader nodes that validate the transactions within the cluster. But Solana rotates the leader nodes, which lessens the chance that a malicious or malfunctioning node will slow down the entire network. This helps Solana meet its mission of creating the most censorship-resistant network out there, which means users are prevented from adding new blocks to the blockchain due to dysfunctional nodes or malicious activity. And lastly, Solana also has an open source application, which means anyone can download and build with it. All of this leads to Solana having a minuscule block time of about 400 milliseconds. Solana's speed and efficiency, combined with security and ability to handle high network traffic volumes, are all big reasons that the ecosystem has and continued to boom. Plus, Solana is incredibly cheap in comparison to other blue chip blockchains. But all of this innovation and speed didn't come without hurdles. Despite running various hackathon events, filling Solana hacker houses with DJs and Technicolor lighting and blockchain enthusiasts and developers, Solana has become known for a plethora of dysfunctional network outages and hacks. In the past 2 years, Solana's network has failed almost a dozen times. And on top of that, all of the recent meme mania has caused most users to experience failed transactions. In 2022, Yakovenko said of the outages, "That's been, I guess, our curse. But it's also because the network is so cheap and fast that there are enough users and applications that are driving that." And despite the need to fix what some consider to be a broken network, Yakovenko kept expanding. And you could tell his phone roots die hard, because Solana announced it's developing a phone. This initially was a bit of an embarrassing venture for Solana, as it took an entire year for them to sell 20,000 units. But Yakovenko didn't quit. We'll hear more on the Solana phones later in our journey. There were also concerns about centralization. For a while, a huge percentage of tokens were controlled by insiders. And even now, rumors abound about why users' transactions are failing and who really has the power behind Solana. Solana Labs said in 2022, "Solana is decentralized, but decentralization is a journey." And they turned out to be right. In 2024, the top 100 Solana holders went from controlling 30% of the supply to 22% of the supply, with the top 10 holders owning anywhere between 6 and 9% during this year. That's slightly higher than the top 10 ETH wallets, which control about 7.4% of the supply. We'll have to see how the decentralization efforts continue in the future, but they seem to be heading in the right direction. And Solana investors and fans seem to have faith in the future of Solana. They stood by Yakovenko and his project despite these hurdles. They even stood by him when projects built on Solana were hacked. In 2022, hackers compromised 8,000 Solana wallets, stealing $6 million. But despite all the drama, innovation and development flooded into the Sol ecosystem, which became a hub for DeFi, NFTs, gaming, meme coins, and other dApps. X and crypto news sources were referring to Solana as the Ethereum killer. The promise of this project has never been greater. But then FTX collapsed.
Back here in the US, Sam Bankman-Fried, who once ran one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges, FTX, has been found guilty of fraud and money laundering. Prosecutors said Sam Bankman-Fried had used money stolen from FTX to prop up his investment fund and to fund his lavish lifestyle. He now faces decades in prison.
Before FTX paused customer withdrawals and eventually filed for bankruptcy, Sam Bankman-Fried's exchange was valued at $32 billion and boasted a slew of celebrity endorsements. They even got Larry David to make his commercial acting debut.
I don't think so.
The FTX bankruptcy marked the end of a string of crypto bankruptcies that devastated the industry throughout all of 2022. But November 8th of that year, when FTX paused customer withdrawals, was the darkest night of the crypto winter. Huge numbers of people lost their life savings. Some people left the crypto industry forever. Lives were even lost due to the negligent choices of a few crypto elites. But it was especially dark for Solana. Remember how I mentioned SBF's company Alameda Research was a big investor and proponent of Solana? Well, FTX had $982 million worth of SOL during that time. That was 10% of the total supply. Everyone was terrified the exchange would start dumping Solana to pay for bankruptcy proceedings. Not to mention the opinion of crypto's once golden boy, SBF, was now complete trash. Every project associated with SBF and FTX was tainted. Solana was even mentioned on day one of SBF's trial. This news sent Solana tumbling to $10. Funnily enough, there are tales of Bankman-Fried still shilling Solana and other coins to his prison guards once he was behind bars. May he live long in prison and not prosper. After the FTX drama, the Solana Foundation released a statement, assuring users there were no performance or security issues. They also admitted to having about $1 million worth of fiat or equivalent assets on FTX as well as FTX's native token Serum and FTX stock. All of this equated to 1% of the foundation's funds, and they tried to convince the community this wasn't a dire situation. They also mentioned a significant portion of FTX and Alameda Sol tokens were staked and locked until 2028. But despite these attempts to reassure hodlers, most people in crypto and the media thought Solana was dead. Spoiler alert, if you're brave enough to buy Solana around $10, I bet you're doing a little happy dance right now. Because Solana's price almost immediately doubled, recovering to around $20 in January of 2023. And then it went on to skyrocket over the next year and a half. So how did Yakovenko and the Solana team drag the project out of the crypto graveyard? Well, a number of factors led to this unlikely underdog story. The first being the FTX Solana fire sale didn't materialize when expected. But Yakovenko credits Solana's resurrection to the scrappy founders building on the blockchain. He told CoinDesk's Unchained that despite the pain that the FTX fiasco caused, it sent everyone into fight or flight mode, shaking the speculators and paper hands out of the market. The developers and founders that were left chose fight mode. And they were the real believers in Solana with the guts to stay in the space long term. Plus, Solana's technology was necessary for many of them to build the programs that they wanted. Those developers conquered their fears, buckled down, and kept working through the rest of the bear market. There was a tipping point when they really didn't know if they would make it, but Yakovenko and his team kept working as well. Just a few months after the FTX collapse, Solana showed its quality with its use of a unique development called local fee markets. Ethereum and other blockchains constantly look for the highest paying transactions and run them in that order. This means if there's a lot of activity, users will bid up the fees to unconscionable levels. Local fee markets allow Solana to isolate hotspots and big events so they won't impact other payments. Yakovenko believes raising fees like other blockchains would go against the basic premise of Solana. He also thinks it would defeat the purpose of crypto taking market share from traditional finance. So in April of 2023, when Mad Lads had an NFT mint at the same time as Helium migration to Solana, everything went smoothly and the fee stayed low. Then in July, Solana introduced Hyperledger Solong, which allowed developers to write Solana smart contracts in Ethereum's programming language. Previously, Solana ran on Rust or C programming languages. Hyperledger made developing on Solana even more accessible and lowered more projects into the chain. Then, just a month later, Solana Pay integrated with Shopify, allowing merchants to access Web3 payments. Crypto companies like Circle and Phantom, as well as more traditional companies like Checkout.com, were already using Solana Pay. And companies like Visa followed suit, adding support for Solana in September as part of their cross-border payment modernization. The terrible association with FTX and SBF seemed further and further behind them. But then drama found Solana again in June, when the SEC sued Coinbase and Binance, naming Solana as a security along with other cryptos. Bear in mind, Solana wasn't sued directly, but Yakovenko took to fortune later that year, writing an opinion piece that accused the American government of driving innovators and founders out of the country. He voiced the concerns and frustrations of many people in the crypto industry who want to comply with the law, but have zero guidance on how. Yakovenko worries about brain drain, where the smartest minds will come to America for funding and then retreat to countries that are friendlier to crypto. The cost of legal compliance in the US has gone through the roof. If you've been in crypto for a while, you've seen this firsthand. Some exchanges and companies like KuCoin and Bybit have pulled out of America altogether until our politicians get their acts together. But despite all these lawsuits, market uncertainty, and concerns about inflation and potential recession, Bitcoin ETF hysteria began to descend upon the market. And Solana was right there as one of the top cryptos benefiting from that influx of capital. It also released FireDancer in October 2023, which was a new validator client designed to address Solana's transaction speed limits. This developer was marketed as improving Solana's performance in an attempt to keep such frequent outages from occurring again. And it seemed to work. Solana started experiencing less disruption and continued to gain more and more mainstream attention. In November 2023, Cathie Woods mentioned how bullish she was on Solana in a CNBC interview. Then Solana's first Saga phone became hot property in December when bonk tokens were airdropped to each device. This happened as Bitcoin's price skyrocketed higher than any degen could have imagined happening pre-halving. This was the perfect time for Solana to release pre-orders for its second attempt at a phone. And this time they reached 100,000 pre-orders in just 28 days. And part of the reason so many people pre-ordered this phone was the hope of more airdrops. But meme mania didn't stop with the Solana phone. Bitcoin breached its all-time high in March, pushing up to $73,000. Suddenly, all these traumatized hodlers who survived the bear now had money to burn, and that money flowed into meme coins. Now, Binance and BNB was the meme coin darling of the last bull run, but this time around, everyone was launching memes on Solana. Even Ethereum and Binance meme coins had copycat versions on Solana. It was fast, cheap, and people who made Sol profits could easily gamble some of them without a taxable event or swapping to another chain. Soon, people were making millions overnight. This led to a surge of activity and value moving into the Solana ecosystem. At time of recording, Solana is 4th in terms of total value locked. In November of 2023, it was only number 8. Now, only Binance Smart Chain, Tron, and Ethereum outrank it. And the following numbers will shock you. In the last 5 months, Solana's TVL went from around 600 million to almost 5 billion. And that was before the halving. Full bull run euphoria is still a ways away. Solana is much closer to the 9.9 billion Solana boasted at the height of last bull run, and I think it'll get there much faster than anyone thought. In fact, Solana is setting new all-time highs as far as market cap goes. And while the crypto industry was quietly awaiting the halving during a typical and minor market correction, and TradFi was anxiously awaiting CPI data, FTX started quietly offloading bags of Sol. You didn't think they were going to sell at the bottom, did you? But they didn't get the full extent of Solana gains, selling to insiders like Galaxy Trading and Pantera Capital for $64 a piece. I'm sure you would have liked to get in on that sale. They offloaded 2/3 of their $2.6 billion hoard of Solana. But this sale barely impacted the price, since 41 million of the auction tokens are still locked in staking until 2028. There are some complaints from FTX creditors about the tokens being sold at such a steep discount, but when have bankruptcies ever taken the welfare of the little guy in account? But at least that's a relative end to some of the FUD surrounding Solana. So maybe everyone who faded Solana was wrong. We'll see if Yakovenko and his team can keep Solana on top for the rest of the bull run. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see you and your Solana meme portfolio at the top.